Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is part 7 of this series of streams in which I am developing a REAPER action that allows you to edit multi-stream files, and that's usually multi-stream video files with multiple streams of audio in REAPER. So by default, REAPER out of the box is incapable of working with files that have multiple streams of audio. And the canonical example that I keep coming back to is a recording where your microphone is, I keep gesturing at this part, that's because that's where my microphone is. So that's the sound that comes from your microphone, and there may be another track or stream of audio that is the audio coming from your computer. And if you want to edit that footage in REAPER, you will only have access to the first track. And the way that we are solving this is we are creating a REAPER script that explodes that media file into a bunch of files, one per stream, and puts that in your timeline. So the goal for today is to actually use the ffmpeg installation that comes with the script we wrote. So in the previous 6 streams, we got the action to work more or less. There are still some things to fix, but it's generally okay. So we want to fix, we want to use ffmpeg for the action, and we are shipping the script along with ffmpeg. So all we have to do is just modify the script to actually use the ffmpeg version that we are shipping. And we are shipping that with ReaPack. That's what we did in the previous stream. So that's part 1, and part 2 is Windows support. And I think it's nice to do these things together because Windows, the difference between macOS, Linux, and Windows will probably boil down to where you find ffmpeg, because there is that .exe at the end of the file for Windows, and calling the ffmpeg command correctly, so getting all the quotes right on the arguments and whatnot. So that's the game plan for today. Let's jump into macOS first. So here I have the macOS window, and I will open the script. And this is interesting because last time we had a working version of the script that is on the directory where I keep all my scripts. It is the one that you can find on GitHub. It is right here. So I have one instance of the script that is this one, the one that I have on my repository, and we were developing on this one. But on the previous episode, we shipped this script using ReaPack and we installed it. So now I have 2 versions, and I don't know of a better way to determine which is which. The way I usually do it is I select one of them and I click on Edit. And I look at the path to the file, which in this case, I guess, is too long, so I cannot see the full path. Typically, if the path is not this long, REAPER will show me the full name. Oh yeah, so I can just drag the window. So I know that the one I grabbed is the one on my development directory. So that is the one that I want to change. And the change that we will make is to this line. So this is the path where ffmpeg is installed on my machine. And I installed ffmpeg separately from developing all this. But now that we have shipped ffmpeg along with the ReaPack package, we can get a hold of where that ffmpeg installation is and point to it. So let's see what we have on the ffmpeg installation here on this. So yeah, I was clever when doing this, or I was clever previously when I was developing the other action on that I copy and pasted the configuration for this one. But I was clever to name ffmpeg always the same. So the source of the files that are actually shipped, they're different for the different operating systems and the different architectures in the different operating systems, but the file name will always end up being the same. And of course, except for Windows that has this .exe at the end. So now let's open the REAPER configuration directory, and we will see exactly where that file is. So I can come here to, this is my REAPER configuration directory, and there is the data folder, and in there is the ffmpeg executable. And one of the things I did, I think it was the last thing I did on the previous stream, was to show that this file is not executable. And that's something that has to do with file permissions in macOS and Linux. It's not an issue in Windows, because Windows only looks at the extension. If the extension is .exe, it's executable. But in macOS and Linux, you have to not only have a file, but you have to set its properties correctly. And this file does not have the correct properties. So if I go to the terminal and drag and drop this folder into the terminal and cd into it, and then I try to run ReaPack ffmpeg, it doesn't run. It complains that the file is not even there, which is incorrect because the file is there. So what we have to do in the script is to first fix this permission. Well, we have to do three things. We have to find the file in the file system, and we know where it is because we put it there. Then we will have to fix its permission, and then we will be able to call it. So let's see how we can find the file in the file system. There is the API help right here, and we are now looking at a way to get the path of my configuration. And I usually go there by coming here to options and show REAPER resource path in Explorer Finder. But there is a way to get that programmatically from within a ReScript. And I don't remember how to do that, but I will use the same language that is used right here to do my search. So resource path, I will call that. So now I'm going to look for get resource path. I think we were lucky on the first try. So returns path where any files are stored, other things are in subdirectories. So if I copy this over here to REAPER and to our REAPER action, and I'm going to do this as the first thing because this is more or less like a debugging thing I'm going to do. So I'll say REAPER show console message of get resource path, and I don't want the rest of the script to execute, so I'll answer no to when it asks whether I want to execute. So I can save this and it will run, and I can say no and it will not run the rest of this script. That's something we wrote last time to prevent me from breaking other people's files, because this is more or less a prototype, a working prototype, but it's still more of a prototype sort of thing. So I have that message saying, oh, this is sort of a prototype. Do you really want to go on? Okay, so that is the path where I installed. You can see that it's the same path as this one. So this is the path where I installed ffmpeg. Oh, so I guess it was correct to say that the file is not here, because it's not really here. It's under /data. And then if I look for ReaPack, ffmpeg. Okay, so now it complains for a different reason. It says permission denied. And the permission is, you can see that other executable files, I don't have any other executable files. But in general, executable files will have this X flag for executable. And here I have the ffmpeg installation without the X flag. But never mind that. I do have the path, and that is the path for the configuration where it is on your machine, maybe. So what we are going to do is, now ffmpeg is not this, but get resource path. I can delete this part. And then I will concatenate /data /ReaPack _ffmpeg. Now, just by virtue of doing this, this will not work. When we go to actually run this. So we are building commands with ffmpeg, and then at some point we are executing ffmpeg. So that will not work because of the permission problem we just saw. The fix to that is to change the permissions on the file. So we can do change mode plus X to say plus means add this flag and X means executable. So when I chmod plus X ReaPack ffmpeg, that will add the permission to this file. So I'm not really going to run this because otherwise I would be fixing the issue without the rescript. And I'm not going to run this. I'm going to actually paste this into my rescript and I'll run it from there. So you may be thinking, why do I do this handstanding? It's kind of a hack. It's a hack that I did before and I'm just doing it again. I did it before when I was developing this other REAPER action that controls OBS from within REAPER, so you can sort of record videos in REAPER. And I'm playing the same trick now. But it's kind of a hack, and it's a hack around, it's a workaround this limitation of ReaPack, which is the thing I'm using to distribute my rescript, but it's limited to, it can install any files you want. As we just saw, it installed ReaPack ffmpeg, but it's not able, as far as I can tell, it's not able to set the mode of this file, which granted is a pretty niche thing for you to need to do. So I guess it's kind of expected that ReaPack doesn't support this, but we have to work around this by changing the mode of the file. And the way we want to do this is we want to check if we are in macOS and Linux, because this doesn't make sense in Windows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to the REAPER API and I will look for a platform this time. Or maybe I'll look for Linux. The first occurrence was one that was kind of okay. It was giving me a big string with a lot of information besides whether it's Linux, macOS, or Windows. Is Windows? No. Okay, so this get app version I think is the best we can do. No, I really think that there is something better. I'll look for Win32 or maybe Win64. Okay, this is better. So this REAPER get OS thing gives us information about whether we are running on Windows, whether we are in macOS, whether we are in macOS with an M1 processor or other, which I must believe is Linux. So we will use this function and we will detect if getOS includes Win. So I'll do a string match of this. If it is Windows, then we'll have to do some work here, but I'm going to start with the other case. So if we are on Windows, then we'll do something else. We'll get to that in a moment. But if we are not on Windows, we are in macOS or Linux, and the behavior is exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a command on the command line. This is the REAPER way of calling a command on the command line. This is a timeout, and I guess 500 milliseconds is okay for that. And then we will run the command that is chmod for change mode plus X and then ffmpeg. But note how ffmpeg is on this resource path that may have spaces in it. So I have to quote to make sure that I don't get tripped on the spaces. So the way I'm going to write this command is actually like this. So another way of quoting strings in Lua is with this double square brackets. And then I can put quotes in there. And then I will quote the ffmpeg path that because of this part it may include spaces, so I have to quote it like so. So now I believe we are able to test this because exec process will change the mode. I'm not 100% sure that it will change the mode because I'm not 100% sure that I can just call chmod like this, or if I need to pass a full path. I don't remember this, but I may have to use bin chmod. We'll see. So the way I'm going to test this is by selecting the media item I want to convert, and then I'm going to save the file, which runs the script, and in this case I do want to continue. And it failed, it seems. It did not produce other files here, so maybe the problem is the full path, as I just mentioned. And to prove this, I can just list the directory and check the mode. So the mode's still not executable, which means that this didn't work. So I'll call bin chmod instead and save and run. And now it seems like there is an error on line 38. But let's check the mode. So the mode has changed. That much is good. But the action still didn't work. You can see that no media files were created here. So now let's see what could be happening. I guess I have a pretty good clue of what's happening. As I said, ffmpeg now has, the path to the command now has spaces in it. And I made sure to quote it on this command, but not on the other ones. So now let's look at the two other places where I'm calling ffmpeg, or I'm calling a command from the command line. And they are right here, and then later there. So we need to look at the convert command parts and the inspect command parts. And you know what? I think there is a good trick that we can play here. Because the way we are doing this is we are building the command part by part, and we are starting with this ffmpeg variable. So I guess one way to do this is to just quote the ffmpeg variable itself. And then I don't need to quote it in other places. So that's what I'm gonna do. So when building this, I am going to put quotes around this whole variable. And I guess I need to do it at this point. I don't know exactly where I want to do this. Because, okay, let me explain why I am hesitating here. The thing that we have to do when we are on Windows is we have to change the path, because the path is the same except for .exe at the end. And then I need to put the quotes around the whole thing. And if I do the quotes around here, then this concatenation won't work. But if I don't do it, then this command will fail. So I guess the way I need to do this is by ending this if, and now I have the path to ffmpeg as regardless of the operating system. Oh no, here's an idea. I can do it like this. So I can concatenate something that is, am I on Windows? If so, .exe. Otherwise, I don't concatenate anything. I'll put some new lines so I can see what's going on here. So I'm going to start this command path with a quote. I'm going to end it with a quote. And in the middle, I'm going to concatenate the .exe if I am on Windows. And now, at this point, I will check if it's not the case that I am on Windows, then I will run the chmod hack. Okay, I'm going to save this and not run it. Come here to Visual Studio Code and format, and then reopen it here. Okay, so now let's reread this and see if it makes sense. I'm muting ffmpeg, the command, by getting the resource path. I'm quoting the whole thing. I am appending this part, which is always the same. I am checking whether I'm on Windows, and if so, I'm appending .exe. Otherwise, I'm not appending anything. And I'm putting a double quote at the end. And if it's not the case that I'm on Windows, so I am in macOS or Linux, then I do the chmod trick. To check the whole process, I'm going to chmod -x, which removes a flag, and I remove the flag from ffmpeg, so this restores the file to the way it was installed by ReaPack. Now I guess I can test this, so I can select this and save, which will run. Do you want to continue? Yes. Then something else happened. I saw an error message right here. Let's check the mode of the file. The mode of the file is okay. The path to the file, I suppose, will contain the quotes, so that's not the issue. Let's run this again and see what the issue may be, or where the issue may be. Oh, okay, so it worked this time. There is this error that is happening only in some cases, and I don't know what it is. But we'll figure it out eventually. But it seems to work, so this is now running, yes. It does create all the 3 streams, and it is using ffmpeg as installed using ReaPack. So now let's... and I even wrote part of the code that I think will make this work on Windows as well. So I think at this point it's a good point for us to push this, pull on Windows. I do have a Windows machine here, and we'll see how this plays out on Windows as well. So I said we were going to do 2 different things. The first was to use ffmpeg as installed using ReaPack. The other thing we are going to do is to test this on Windows. So let's go and do that. I'm going to jump into, make sure that I saved, jump into Visual Studio Code and format, and then let's look at the changes. So these are formatting changes. This is what I actually did. I improved this ffmpeg command to actually use the one we installed. This is formatting and more formatting. So I'm okay pushing this. And when it's over, we can jump to camera 5, which is Windows. So let's go there. And I'll put the microphone closer to me so you can hear me. Okay, so now we are on Windows. And we have a similar setup. Let's pull. And here I did not, in this machine, I did not load my actions. So I'm going to open the actions menu, new action, load rescript, and find my... I'm not as used to Windows as I am to macOS. So where is my code? I guess I'll have to go the whole way. So it's probably under users, micro, and then code, and then REAPER, and and then scripts, and then finally explode multi. Okay, so now we have two versions. This one is the one that was selected after I added it, so I suppose that this one will be the one in the right folder. Yeah, it is in the code folder. So that's the one that is the work in progress sort of situation. And I have already installed ReaPack here with all the REAPER, with all my REAPER scripts and whatnot. So this means I have already installed here the executable as well. So this .exe is in my REAPER configuration folder. So let's see if I can find it. Go into options and then show REAPER resource path, and then data, and then ReaPack ffmpeg.exe. And something I did not do, but I want to try, is to call this on the command line to make sure that this is ffmpeg. And we found this ffmpeg executable in the previous stream. I want to make sure that it really is what it claims to be and that everything is working. So I guess the way to do this is to come here to the command line and cd, and can I drag and drop in Windows like I can in Mac OS? No. So I have to say c /users I wonder how I can see the full path. Oh, okay, so I can copy this. Awesome. CD and paste that, and then I should be able to call ffmpeg like this, and yes, it returns something. So it means that the installation is correct, it is already in place. So with all that, I should be able to just run this. Let's see what it does. Okay, it may or may not work. Do you want to continue? No. Oh, the no is in a different position in Windows. Isn't that fun? Do you want to continue? Yes. Line 62, attempt to concatenate a new value. Let's go to our scripts, explode, and line 62. What? This line should not fail, because I am specifically producing a value that is a string. That's weird. I wonder if this is that error that happens only sometimes. So I'll run this again. No. Okay, so attempts to concatenate new value in line 62 of this script. Well, luckily, line 62 is in this part of the code that is checking for repeated files. So we want to make sure that the files we produce when exploding, they are unique. So I suppose I can just not do this part. And I'm just noticing that there is a lag between what I do and what the stream shows some of the time, not all of the time. Kind of weird. I'm speaking more slowly, and I'm moving the cursor more slowly than I'm speaking, so I guess that's fine. You're not losing too much. But yeah, I guess I can just remove these parts of the script, and as long as the files don't exist, I think I should be good. So I'm commenting out this part, and I'm saving it, and I'm coming back here to REAPER, and I will reload, and I'll run this again. Okay, so line 60 now complains. Line 60 is the stream index. The stream index is coming from Lua, so this should be a number, and I'm converting it to a string, so that should not be an issue. Let me run this again and look at the error message more closely. Attempt to concatenate a new value. I wonder what could produce a new value. I mean, we are using toString here, so I am curious. I'm coming back to macOS for a moment. And the reason why I'm doing that is because of this trick I showed in previous streams. There is this tool called Hammerspawn that I don't have installed in Windows because it's not available on Windows, but it is completely unrelated to REAPER. It's just an automation tool for macOS, but it happens to run in Lua, and I can use the Lua console right here to inspect things. So toString of nil returns nil. So that may be the issue. I thought that toString, or is it? Let's inspect. So Hammerspawn has this inspect thing. Okay, so it returns a string nil, and that will concatenate just fine. Because in Lua, if you try to concatenate nil, it complains. And that's the error we are getting in REAPER. But if we try to concatenate to a string of nil, it doesn't complain because nil is a string in this case. So calling to a string, I think, will always produce a string regardless of what you give it. So maybe that's not the issue. Let's jump back to Windows. And I guess at this point I am pretty much writing some debug things here. Oh, but note that we are already on the convert part. So maybe the issue is that the output of ffmpeg is different, or it's being parsed differently on Windows. And then whatever we are putting into media to convert is garbage, because media to convert is being created from medias to inspect, and medias to inspect was being created from the first call to ffmpeg. So at this point I have to write some debugging code here. I will have to figure out what's going on. But I have different options of what I will run. So saving this, I'll come back to REAPER and reload it. So at this point I can try to debug these lines, but I don't think they are to blame. I think that the problem happens before. So I will debug medias to convert maybe. And I will just loop over. I guess I'll do a loop that looks pretty much like this. And what I'm going to do is very simple. I'll say REAPER show console message of input index then new line media, and media is a table itself. So I wonder what happens if you pass a table to string. I think it will return something like nil or whatever. You know what? Let's test this out. So what happens when you say to string of a table? That's weird. Oh, I think it prints the address to the table. So let's inspect what this is. And yes, quotes. So this is going to print a table, which isn't too helpful. So coming back here to Windows, instead what I'm gonna do is print some part of it, like, oh, actually this is supposed to already be a string, but I'll put the string anyway. So this was supposed to be a string, but I'll print the media file, which is the path to the original media file we are converting. We are using this name right here, for instance. Yeah, so let's save this and run it, and then we see the input index and the media. So that seems to be okay. Oh, okay, I think I know what the error is. I'll make the printing nicer. I don't know why I'm doing this, because I think I already know what the mistake is. So the problem is this has backslashes to separate directories, and we used forward slashes. We assumed that it would return forward slashes. So I even have a fix me here. Does Windows normalize the file to forward slashes? The answer is no. So everywhere where we use the file, we need to be aware of this, or we can do the conversion. I mean, in theory, I think you could have a name with forward slashes in Windows. I think you could have a file name with forward slashes in Windows, and Windows wouldn't complain. But in practice, I don't think that many people do that. So I suppose I could just do a string replace. No, in Lua it's string g sub for global substitution. So I'm going to globally substitute on this string every occurrence of a literal backslash into a forward slash. And this normalizes the file names so they are always forward slashes regardless of your operating system. So now I'm going to save this, run it, and now the name has forward slashes in it. And lo and behold, the action works on Windows. Awesome. I am celebrating, but the stream didn't pick it up. Okay, the stream picked it up. So, yay, the action is working on Windows. What should we do next? How much time do I have? I have been streaming for 37 minutes. I think I would stream for a little bit more. So the thing that I would like to do next, well, first of all, I do have to remove the debugging thing that I wrote right here. No, I will not run this. This is the first time I'm doing this sort of thing, and I'm kind of liking it because it helps me save without worrying that the action will run and that it will mess things up or whatever. So coming back here, let's reread everything we changed. It shouldn't be much. Yep, we just changed this part that we thought we were going to need, so I'm pretty happy with this result. And now let's format this, save and commit. And now, do you want to reload it? Yes. Let's work on a low-hanging fruit. Well, actually, let's reread some of these because I see some stale things. So we'll do a quick pass on the code, and then we can remove. Then we can tackle a low-hanging fruit, which is unique file names. There is a bug there. So this command is now it's stale. We have used everything that was in this line. Fix me ffmpeg's absolute path. We did that in this stream. Let's see what else. Okay, so this fix me. Is there a way to just copy the existing item and change the source underneath instead of creating new items and copying properties by hand? So I did some research on this off stream, and I discovered that yes, you can copy items and change the source underneath, but it's not a good idea to do it because you have to manage. I'm out of frame. This is slightly better. The issue is you have to make sure that the new item it's kind of detached from the original one. So you have to handle identifiers for the items, and it is kind of awkward to work with copies of items. And you can make mistakes. It's error prone. So I decided to not do it. I decided to just copy the properties that I care by hand. So I'm going to remove this as well. And yeah, so we did this quick pass over the code base, and it seems like the next thing we want to do is this create unique file name situation here. So the problem is I'm going to save and not run. So the problem is, if you have multiple instances of, or multiple items pointing at the same source underneath. So now I have two media items, but they are pointing at the same MKV file. What happens in this case is that we are not generating unique file names, because we are just looking at whether the file already exists in this file system, and in this case it does not. We are about to create this file, and then we are about to create it again, and everything blows up. In fact, to show that this is a problem, let's see the data folder, not the data folder, the videos folder. Yeah, so this is the folder where my project lives, and I wonder if there is a way for me to see this as a list like that. Yes, I'm more used to this. So I'm going to delete all these files, and I have this situation here that will cause the bug, I think. So it will try to find unique file names for both of the files, and you could think, okay, but maybe it should not generate the same files again and again. The thing is, we looked at this in a previous stream, and we determined that the existing REAPER action for exploding multiple channels within a stream, which is not the same as the one we are building. This explodes multiple streams from a file. But if you have multiple files pointing at multiple media items pointing at the same file, and you run the explode, explode multi-channel audio, it's going to create multiple copies. So we decided to do that as well. Though it's not the smartest thing, I preferred consistency. So that's what we ended up with. So it's going to create multiple copies of the same files, but it's not creating unique file names. So okay, enough of the talking. Let's run the action. Then you can see it did not work. It did not create new items. And here on the command line, it created one copy of the files. Oh, and it gets worse. Yeah. REAPER just crashed, which is unusual. REAPER is a very stable piece of software. It usually doesn't crash, but it crashed now. And that's because ffmpeg is being called on the command line without a timeout, because ffmpeg may take a while to do its thing. And on the command line, it's saying, oh, this file already exists. Do you want to overwrite it? But when running a command line from within REAPER, I have no way of saying, oh, I'm going to answer this prompt on the command line. There is no such thing. So REAPER just freezes, and in this case it even crashed. On my Mac it did not crash, but it froze, so I had to force quit it. And on this machine, on the Windows machine, you can see that the Windows machine is not my main machine. I did not install my REAPER license here. So we have a pretty good grasp of what the issue is. Let's jump into the code and fix it. So how am I going to do this? I am going to open my action again. And I suppose mine is the second. The development version is the second because it was the second before. Yes, this is the development version. So now let's just do it like this. So we are in this part of the code, in this section of the code, we are creating the command that we will run to convert. So this is the place where we are creating unique file names. And this is the place where we determine whether the file name is used or not. So what we are going to do is just have a global set here. So the thing to know about Lua is that the only data structure in Lua is a table, but the table is super flexible. You can use a table as a list. We have been doing that here. This is a list of command parts. A Lua table can be used as a map. We use that over here to create a map of tracks to the number of children they should have. And a Lua table can be used as a set. And that's what we're about to do because we want to check uniqueness of things. So I'll call this files because I don't think it's a name that has been used before. And it's just a table, but it's going to be used in a different way. The way it's going to be used is, after I have created a unique file, this is the file that I'm going to go with. You can see it right here. So after I have done that, I will put the file in the set of files. This is something that may be weird the first time you look at it, but it's a pattern that many Lua programs use. It's a pattern that I learned from reading the Programming in Lua book, which is a great programming book. I really like it. It's not really for beginners, though I think that Lua is a suitable language for beginners, but Programming in Lua is not a book for beginners, I don't think. But for people who are already programmers, you can get from zero to very functional in Lua in a very short time. I really liked that book. It goes in depth in just the right places and it goes straight to the point in the other places. I really liked that book. In any case, so here I am using this table as a set, and the way I'm doing it is I am leveraging the fact that anything can be a key, including, of course, strings, and keys are unique. So when I say files file, I'm referring to the same spot in the table. And the value does not really matter. I'm not really using the value. I'm just passing a dummy value here. I'm passing true because I think that's the convention. It's what they pass as a value in the Programming in Lua book. But I could just pass hello here. It doesn't really matter. This value is a dummy value because we are really interested in the keys. So now we have a set of all the files. We're collecting all the file names. All we have to do here is check that not only the file does not exist until it's not the case the file exists, and it's not the case that files at file, and that's it really. I just have to do this because files at file is true if the file exists and it's nil otherwise. If I try to find a value in the table that does not exist, the table returns nil. I mean, here, check this out. We are back in Hammerspawn just so you see that if I have a table called T and in T I have like hello, it's nil. And then the thing that we are doing is this, but then I call hello again, and then there you go, it returns true. So when I say this right here, it will return true if the file already exists. So let's double check that the logic is correct. I will repeat this thing that builds a file name until it's not the case that the file exists, and it's not the case that the file is one that we already generated right in the previous iteration. I'll also remove this line because I'm pretty confident that this will do the trick. So let's check the state of this directory. There are some streams in there. I cannot seem to delete these files. I wonder what I would have to do to kill the process, because there must be a zombie process, a zombie ffmpeg process somewhere trying to convert the files and waiting for a prompt. So I'll cancel this. Back in the day, I used to Control-Alt-Delete, and then I'll go to the task manager. Okay, so the task manager is here, and I suppose there is an ffmpeg process somewhere in here. Can I search for a process? No, there is no search field. Well, I can look for ReaPack ffmpeg. Here it is. There is our zombie process. And we can end a process like so. The process seems to have been closed, and now I should be able to delete these files. Awesome. So no files here. Let's see what the situation here is on the timeline. and we have only one copy. We used to have two, but the program crashed and now we lost that. So I'll drag this over and I'll save. I saved the REAPER project with the two instances of the file. I'll select both of them and I'll run the script. What happened? REAPER froze. Oh no. We did not fix the issue. What's happening? Oh, only one copy of the file. Ah. Damn it. Close the program. Okay. Control-Alt-Delete, Task Manager. When I Control-Alt-Delete, you cannot see it on the stream. That is interesting. Okay, REAPER stopped. Let's look for ReaPack ffmpeg. Let's order this by name. It's not an app, it's a background process. ReaPack ffmpeg, end task, close. Try to delete these files. Okay, let's come back to REAPER. It's very hard to crash REAPER, and I'm doing it several times this stream. ReaPack explode. Second one, edit action. This is the development one. So now let's be smart about this and not run. Okay, this is weird. It lost some of my code as well. So maybe it didn't run the latest version of my code. Yeah, none of my changes are here. Was I editing the wrong file before? No, but none of my changes are here. What happened to the other changes? Like I was removing some to-dos. You know what? Now I'm worried. Do you want to continue? No, this doesn't run. So now I can come here to Visual Studio Code and check the changes. So I removed some of the comments from here. I removed comments from there. I think that's all I did. I will commit this just in case. Come back to REAPER. This is the development version, and I'll have to rewrite the code that we wrote because we lost it. Apparently, we lost it. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so media... Convert media command parts. So let's try this again. Local files is equal to an empty table. When we are done generating a file, we'll say files at file equals true. And here we'll say and not the case that files file. I'll save this, but I will not run it. Because it seems like there is still a problem. So what I'm going to do instead is not run the rest of the script. What I will do is show the command that would have been run by using REAPER show console message of this. And I will say return. This stops the execution of the script right here. I don't think that it works though. I think it's a syntax error to say return like this. So if I save, yeah, it seems like it's a syntax error to use return like this, but there is a hack. So I can say if true return, which will stop the execution of the script. And now it works. It's not a syntax error anymore. Do you want to continue? Yes. This is the command that would have run. So let's see. ffmpeg input blah map to this file name and that file name and that file name. Oh, I have only one file selected. Let's close this. I'll close that. And now we selected 2 media items and we run the action again. And this time we have 2. So let's see. ffmpeg.exe, this is the first input and this is the second input. They happen to be the same. But the file names are different. Look at this. There is an extension 002 situation going on here. So we are creating unique file names. Also, since all the paths are absolute paths, it's possible for me to come here to the command line, and I was using PowerShell before, so I will continue using PowerShell. And I can paste this here. Oh, come on. Let me copy. Will you? Copy. PowerShell, paste, and run. And then we can see what's going on. Unexpected token in expression statement. I don't know. Let's try this in terminal. I don't know PowerShell all that well. Okay, so it works. And if we look at the folder, the media items are there. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to clear the console and close because we are generating unique file names. This to do with create unique file names if multiple media items. We did this. It should work. Let's see. I'll save this again, but I will not run just to make sure that it really is saved to disk. Starting to get paranoid. We don't have any files. We have 2 items selected. We run the action. I do want to continue. And it worked. I have no idea what was wrong before, but it worked. And it even created multiple copies of the stream. And I expect that this one will be the first. And I expect that this one will have a source property that will match the name without 002, and that one will have a source property that matches the name 002. Okay, so this works. I have no idea why it didn't work before, but it works now. Let's see the things we changed and commit. So we created new files set. We are putting things in the set and we are checking the set. And we removed the to-do. What else do we have to do here to call this a day? Yeah, so I guess what we have to do next is all these situations, like this fix me. This is something we added in a previous stream. The track creation isn't working if a track is the last child in the parent track. So there is a bug in the track creation over here. And there is that bug that only happens sometimes. And I don't know how to trigger that one. But that one will be interesting. And then I'm sure that we have more things to do, but I don't remember. But in any case, I think this is a good place for us to wrap this stream up. I have been streaming for more than 1 hour now. So I'll wrap this up. What we did today, just to recap, is we modified the script to use the ffmpeg version that we are shipping. We checked that everything worked on Windows, and everything works in Windows. We even fixed a bug that we anticipated, but we did not fix before. But yeah, the file path situation on Windows being backslashes, we fixed that. And by the way, here is an interesting side note. Backslashes are the separator on Windows, the directory separator on Windows. But if you use forward slashes, it also works. You know that because I normalized all the paths to be forward slashes. We did this somewhere. Right here. We normalized that. And it is true. It is true. If you want to go, for instance, into a directory here, let's say go, this directory should have subdirectories. So go /package, for instance, and you can go there. But look at that. You can also use forward slashes. And I had bugs in my rescripts before, and people were like, oh, the problem is the backslashes. And no, Windows is smart enough to fix that for you. If you use forward slashes, it converts back to backslashes. So it's fine for us to do things like normalizing all the paths to be forward slashes, and it's fine for us to hard code some of the paths with forward slashes, which we did. Right here, for instance, we are using forward slashes. That's fine. It works on Windows. Okay, so that's 2. We made everything work on Windows. And part 3 is we fixed the bug where the file names would not be unique if you had 2 media items pointing at the same file underneath. Very weird edge case, but it could happen, so we fixed that bug. Now the file names we generate really are unique because we are checking them against the file system and against the file names that we are generating. So we still have a few more bugs to fix, and then what I'm going to do is off stream I will investigate what bugs we need to fix, because I don't want to be on stream and I'll be like, now let's run this 15 times and we can try to figure out what's happening. And I think that would be boring. So I'll look at the script and find all the things that I think should change. And then we'll do that next time, and then we'll update the ReaPack to ship this new version. And we'll call it a day, because I think that is it. I think that's all we need to do. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this stream. I hope you liked doing Windows stuff as well. I usually stream on Mac. I hope you learned something about Lua, using tables as sets. That's always interesting. Thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting me on Patreon and PayPal, and for subscribing to the channel. It's late. I'll go to bed now. Thank you for watching. I see you on the next one. Bye.